Good morning. Is there anyone here who's here for the first time? Welcome. Welcome. My name is Bhavani, Nayaswami Bhvani, and I am serving today with Brahmacharini Chandrika. Can I make this a little bit lower, maybe? Thank you. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, first thing I wanted to say was when I first looked to see what the subject for today was, and so it was a pretty serious subject. Probably the most serious subject you can think of, putting God first, deciding to make God the most important thing in your life. And then I looked to see what the affirmation was, and it was humor. And sometimes you wonder where that juxtaposition is, but immediately I thought, that's Swami telling us, yes, it's the most important decision you'll ever make in your life, but it's not to be a burden. It's not to be onerous. It's absolutely to be something that you just carry lightly throughout the days of your life and just let it unfold, know it's who you are, and not to worry about it. So I thought, okay. So, last week, my son came to visit. And whenever he comes, bless him, he always helps me with the chores around the house that I'm either not tall enough to take care of or not strong enough to do by myself. And so we decided that he'd help me to prune some bushes in my backyard. And I was sharing with him some of the pruning tips I've learned in recent years in my gardening activities. And I learned that when you come to a Y-shaped branch, you retain the branch that's pointing up, and you remove the branch that's pointing down. And as I watched him work, I thought, what an apt metaphor this was for living the spiritual life. Lifelong spiritual effort is all about the choices that we make on a daily basis. And it's the patient pruning away of all our thoughts and actions until God is all we want and all we need. Why put God first? Well, Master put it simply. He said, the decision to seek God is the end of all sorrows. What he actually said was, it's the funeral of all sorrows. He said, God is adorable, the most adorable. He's the most relishable. I love those words. He described God as Satchidananda, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new joy. Who wouldn't want that? Master taught that in past ages, people sought God through suffering. They thought they had to suffer in order to know God. But Master said, in this age, in our path, no, the way to seek God is in joy, with joy. And many, many great saints of all traditions who have found God have always been known to get up and sing and dance with joy. That's the fruit of it. Because joy is God's nature. And so there's joy in the journey, and there's joy in the goal. When I first read Autobiography of a Yogi, I carried the book around for 4 days. I just couldn't put it down. After years of wondering what I could do with my devotion, how I could direct it, I'd finally found the answer. Master brought us the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, in the form of the Vedic tradition. The teachings of yoga give us all the tools we need to find God in this life. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, the ways of yoga are easy to perform. This truth is knowable by direct experience. I first met Swami Kriyananda, the founder of Ananda, in the latter part of the 1970s. He was probably in his mid-40s at the time. And I never got to spend a lot of time with him like Nirmala and Dharmadas. They lived with him, they worked with him over a long period of time. But nevertheless, I always tried to stay in tune with him because he was my teacher. And I observed him for over 40 years. I paid attention to what he did and what he did not do. And I paid attention to what he said and what he did not say. His own life was a study in the search for God realization. And I paid attention because I knew that there was a lot that I could learn from his example. In all the years that I knew him and listened to his many talks, I never heard him express any desire for anything less than God realization, except once in a while for a good cup of espresso. Definitely high on his list. But his talks were ever consistent with their theme of putting God and Guru first. And years ago, while I was living at Ananda, I was at a satsang in Swami's home, and some of the people who were attending there were current guests of the Expanding Light, which is the guest facility of at Ananda. And these people were relatively new to the spiritual path. And Swami was taking questions, and some man spoke up and he said, "Swami, you always talk of the importance of making the commitment to seeking God." And he said, "I cannot do it. I'm just not there yet. What should I do?" And I have always remembered Swami's answer. It was so touching. He said, if you can't quite do that now, he said, think about what you can do. He said, think about the sphere of love and concern that you have for people, perhaps your family. If you don't have a family, maybe your dog or your cat. He said, but strengthen that love and really be concerned and become strong in that love. And then, having done that, set your goal a little bit wider and include your larger family, and then maybe your neighbors, and then maybe humankind completely, and then maybe beyond. And he said, little by little, as you're able to reach the next goal, the integral goal that you set, and you gain confidence that you actually can reach goals that you set, he said, maybe in time, then you'll be able to think that you can set God as your goal as well. And I always remembered that answer. It was so compassionate, no judgment, just full of encouragement. Those are the things you notice when you watch Swami in action. The first part of Swami's book, The Path, is really a primer for those just beginning to ask the right spiritual questions. He describes having read the Bhagavad Gita for the first time, and he says, until now, I had never supposed that a life of devotion might give one, at best, a little peace of mind. But here, suddenly, I discovered that the fruit of spiritual living is a joy beyond human imagination. In his book, Rays of the Same Light, which is an expanded version of what was just read, he says, most people, in the name of being practical, put God last in their lives. Then they wonder why nothing ever goes right for them. But the devotee who puts God first in his life attains fulfillment on every level of existence. How many times have we been saved from impending chaos and doom? But we've been saved by some timely input from above. And I'd like to share with you an example that happened to me quite a few years ago now. But I was with a friend driving, I don't know why, down the roads of rural Stockton. And it was farm to market road. Nobody, absolutely nobody else was on the road. And all of a sudden, my car just made some kind of a sound and then stopped running. And so we brought it over to the side of the road. And what everybody does, they get out and they go raise the hood of the car and take a look in. And we didn't know what we were looking at. So I just went, I need your help. And out of the blue, there was nobody on the road, and then all of a sudden there was this old blue pickup truck. And these two men, the truck came over and stopped where we were, and two men get out, and they asked what was wrong, and I told them. And so one of them immediately just slides under the hood, and then he slides back out again, and he's holding a little thing like this, and he says, this is the problem. And I said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? He said, no problem, I know how to fix this, I'll just go put it back. So he slid under again, and whatever it is that he did under there. And then he came out, and we were so grateful, we wanted to pay them, and no problem. They hopped right back in the car, in the truck, and as they drove away, they just disappeared. They appeared, and then they disappeared. Until today, I just have to smile and say, that was one of those moments. Absolutely, it's one of those moments. So, there are numerous ways to approach our search for God. We can seek the transcendent absolute spirit, Or we can see God in his many forms within creation. When we say Hari Om Tat Sat, we are praying to God beyond creation, Hari, and within creation, Om Tat Sat. In our path, we do both. Our path is very wide-ranging, includes so many, many various ways to approach our goal. While Master was ever in touch with the divine absolute beyond creation, he had a soft spot in his heart for the presence of God within creation, in the form of Divine Mother. He saw the Divine Mother in the form of his own loving mother. And the prayer he taught us addresses God in various roles: Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved. And these are relationships we have some experience with, so we can find it easier to work with than with abstract concepts such as truth or infinity. And the role of beloved is one that I hold dear. I especially resonate with it. As a child, I was quite clear about the meaning of the ring on the finger of the nuns who lived next door to me. I've mentioned before I lived next door to a convent. Very happy, happy sounds came out of that place. And I was always very aware, even as I was very young, what that ring meant, that it implied an intimacy, a closeness that those nuns were striving for in their relationship with God. And I marveled at it, that they could aspire to that and want that so much. And in the life story of Krishna from the Mahabharata, the gopis laughed and danced with Krishna and considered themselves his consort. So here again, the beloved. God is the beloved. So we may have a favorite expression of God, and then at different times relate to God in all these different ways, depending on the context. In the rays of light, of the same light again, Swami talks about the concept of Bhav. And I find these words particularly relevant to me because that's the root of my name, Bhavani. And he says, in India, the religious thought of immersing oneself in the thought of God is expressed by the word Bhav. Bhav refers to the mental image that one holds of God, as well as how we see our role in that relationship. So if we think of God as Father, what is our role as the child? Swami says, Bhav concerns the devotional attitude of the devotee who seeks God above all for his love. What we must do is visualize him in a way that will inspire us to love him deeply. So I have a lot to aspire to with my name. That's one of the reasons you get a new name, you know. Either it's a quality you're already expressing, or it's a quality you really need to aspire to. So clearly, love for God comes first before we can know God fully. All the techniques in the world won't bring us God if their love isn't there. But with devotion already there, the teachings and techniques of yoga can help us to fly toward our goal. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, absorb thy mind in me, become my devotee, resign all things to me, bow down to me. Thou art dear to me, so in truth I do promise thee, thou shalt attain me. I often think there's that passage in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, out of 1,000 who seek me, maybe one may find me. Now, it goes, out of 1,000 people, maybe one may seek me. And out of 1,000 who seek me, maybe one may find me. And let's strive to be that one in 1,000,000. One of our teachings that I've found to be very helpful are the teachings of the gunas. The gunas are the qualities of energy that we bring to our thoughts and our actions. They're like pruning the bushes that I mentioned before. When we make sattvic or uplifting choices, like the upturned branch, those choices help us to stay aligned with our goal. When we make tamasic or down-pulling choices, like the downward-facing branch, they cause delays or distractions in our efforts, in our progress. Every day, we get to make choices, many choices. And the spiritual life consists of patient, consistent decisions that help us to keep our goal in sight. No one can do this for us. Of course, we get lots of help from God and Guru, but we have to make the effort. Patanjali's Eightfold Path, our path of Raja Yoga, is also a clear, step-by-step approach to achieving God realization. In the first 2 steps, we get to get our outer life in order. Second 2 steps, we gain control of our body and our mind. And the final 4 steps are just an ever-increasing, ever-refining approach to being able to single-pointedly concentrate on that which is our goal, God. Here again, Krishna repeatedly reminds Arjuna to fix thy mind on me, be thou my devotee. Having thus united thyself to me as the highest goal, thou shalt be mine own. Well, this is clearly an effort for a lifetime, but Master encouraged us. He stated that our success is assured. All we have to do is stay our course. Isn't that wonderful? We're a spiritual family here. And let's continue to support and encourage each other with each passing year. So many of us have gotten to spend so many years together. And let's keep at it. Let us find as much satisfaction in our Guru Bhai's practice and progress as we find in our own. I'd like to close with these words from Master's poem, Samadhi. Master reached the goal, but he's ever ready at all times to help us to do the same. Vanished are the veils of light and shade, gone the mirage of the senses, melting in the vast sea of bliss. By the magic wand of intuition deep, past, present, future no more for me. Thou art I am thou, knowing, knower, known as one. Samadhi is but an extension of my realm of consciousness, from whence I, the cosmic sea, watch the little ego floating in me. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt again. Gone forever shadows of mortal memory, eternity and I, one united ray. I, a tiny bubble of laughter, have become the sea of mirth itself.